Here we go, it's a happy Monday. It's that time again. We are back in the Riverside FM recording studio. And today's guest on the podcast, we are going to be talking about a career in builders merchant. We're talking about a family business, and I'll give a big clue, with 170 years of history. We're going to throw some football in. We're going to be talking about our respective football clubs. We're bringing the industry itself and the generations that could come into the industry in the future. But first of all, may I begin by welcoming Paul Bence to his long-awaited debut on the Foyne Jones Show. How are you, sir?
I'm all good, Pete. I never thought I'd make it. I thought you'd forgotten about me. So
mate, there was rumours. There was rumours of penalty shootouts. Yeah. There was rumours of football matches. There was all sorts of things going in. Yeah, David Blitz and our sponsors, E.T. Clay, even got me down to Leyton Orient at the start of the season and at the start of the series. And I said to him, "It's amazing, Paul. The last time I was at Leyton Orient, I was 21 years of age, and Fulham were battling for promotion in 1997. Fulham were battling promotion out of the old 4th Division. Yeah. Late great Ray Wilkins was in the Leyton Orient team, who ended up managing Fulham a couple of years later with Keegan. So very, very interesting times. But we've got you on the show. First things first, have you recovered from the celebrations and partying of Saturday night? And have you recovered from the 120th minute equaliser that you got at the weekend?
Well, funny enough, actually, I was watching the hotel room, the Everton-Fulham game, and as we're about to leave the room, I was all tuxedoed up with a wife, going to have photos, and Fulham scored, and she goes, "Is this going to put you in a stinking bad mood?" I said, "Just give me the elevator 7 floors down, and I'll come out of it and I'll be all right." Yeah. And in the great room at the Grosvenor House, I mean, it was a great NMBS celebration. It's something I look forward to every year. And there's lots of drink, there's lots of social interaction, and it's a very, very late night. Clocks go back, so you get an extra hour as well, rather than the hour in the morning. I'll have the hour at the night. And I was really, just as the starter came, I think the goal popped up. So I gave a bit of a wry smile and thought, okay, well, it is only a point at home to Fulham.
It is indeed. And do you know what? I didn't make the trip to Goodison, so I didn't make the trip. But I was actually not too far away from you, because I was out in I was on my way to Chiswick, and it was a mate of mine's 50th, long lifetime friend, another Fulham fan, and I had it on in the wireless in the car, So and as we arrived in our hotel car park, Iwobi scored. And I'm like, this is good. Yeah, great. Here we go. Seemed from the commentators that Fulham were doing okay. So Iwobi scored. By the time I got into the hotel, went down to the bar, put it on my phone, because I didn't have it on the set. So I put it on my phone. Half a pint in, I'm there. The assistant ref's gone up. He said, 6 minutes to play. Right, and I'm like thinking, all right, we're having a go. And I think Silva made a mistake. He made a couple of changes, which I can see why he did it. He brought the subs on. I get why he did it, but it shifted momentum. And then it's a bit like the Alamo. And apparently we just kept playing until you got the equaliser, and then we called it a day. And we got on the coach back home with a point, mate. So you must be pleased from an Everton perspective.
I think both respective managers knew that we were doing this podcast this afternoon. They thought, look, we wanted to go well, so let's just give it a do. It was always going to be a draw. It's always going to be.
I know you've got your Everton Cup for product placement. I've got my Fulham scarf there for when we come on to a bit more about Fulham Everton in the second half of the show. But Paul, you yourself, your family, and the wider business have been celebrating this year 170 years of history. Just bring that to life for our listeners, Paul, because it's just such a great story and just such a great moment for us to reflect on and talk about, really.
Yeah, and it is. We're a 6th generation business. Obviously, the people who are good at maths would have known it was in 1854. And I've talked quite a lot about it in the local press and the national press, because it is something I'm really, really very proud of. I think it's 0.0001% of businesses get this far. Wow. And I suppose for me, it's just my time to sort of wear the watch. This year, I would say I feel 170 years old myself. And we've always been in the same place in Cheltenham. Obviously, we've grown our business exponentially over the last sort of 10 to 15 years. And I was doing a bit of research, as you do, what happened in 1854. And the Earl of Aberdeen was Prime Minister. You'll probably know that, Peter.
I'm a big historian, Paul. I'm down with it. I'm down with the Earl of Aberdeen. Of course I am.
So who was the monarchy then? Have a guess. Who was in charge?
Charles.
It was Queen Victoria. Queen Victoria.
Queen Victoria.
And look, under our first generation, we'll sort of look back through the history. We were just delivering building materials by horse and cart. I mean, who would have thought? It's crazy. And we found some really old invoices, and they say it's that we were specialists in oil, lead, glass, and colour merchants back in the day. So it's obviously things have changed a lot. And look, it's been a tough and resistant business that lived and worked. So we've been through. So work this out, actually. Another one for Google or Wikipedia: 7 pandemics, 2 world wars, and 13 recessions. So are we bulletproof? Not far off. And we're the second oldest business in Cheltenham. I'm the 6th generation. So moving forward to the 21st century, we've got 8 branches now. We've got over 150 staff, and our staff retention rate. I'm really proud of. We're 4 times over the national average, and I think it's because we look after our people. We got some people who've been with us 50 years.
Wow,
that's pretty impressive. Or get a life, guys. Come on, 50 years working for a merchant. I'm not so sure, but we'll go with the first one.
Let's go with the first one, because as all of my listeners know, anyone who follows me know, I'm a builder's merchant boy at heart, and that's kind of the first real job for me. And one of the areas we've been looking at in this podcast, Paul, this series, is we've kind of been taking the Nike CEO's CV, which went viral, from an intern to this to that, and you dare to dream, that sort of stuff. And I'd imagine for yourself, you mentioned, you spoke about where the business is now. 150 staff, 8 sites, where you're trading. It all begins. So for the business to begin with an horse and cart to where it is now, and you took us on that journey, that's jaw stopping in itself, mate. I mean, you're 29 years older than, or 24 years older than Fulham Football Club as well, mate. Just to let you know, Fulham Football Club are 1879, so you've top trumped them as well. But when you come into your role and your position of the business, how much did the business play a part of your younger years? When you was at school growing up, was you always around it? Did you kind of feel everything and its presence in the town and the city?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I was really lucky that see, my dad was the MD, and he took me to everything. So talking about the Grosvenor House Hotel, for example, where we've celebrated with NMBS for, I think they've done it 50, 60 plus years. Always the same night at the end of October. And they used to sit me up in a table when I was 12 years of age, up on the balcony. I really enjoyed that, actually. I was telling the guys on Saturday night, I used to fire the party poppers down and the balloons and stuff, and just be.
Was you on your own up there? Or was there anyone else up there with you?
No, there was my brothers who were a bit younger than me, and there was another couple of family children, I suppose, some other family businesses up there, and we had a whale of a time. Actually, I quite enjoyed that more than sitting down there drinking with a hangover in the next day. But I might go and have another table up there next year and just say I'm up there. But so my dad really took me on the journey during school holidays when I was sort of in my teenage years. I would go and help out in the yard and plot up lintels for Robert Hitchin Homes and people like that. And I loved it. I loved the banter, because it's such an industry where there's so much social interaction from the staffing to the clients, and I just really embraced it. And did I always wanted to go and sell concrete blocks and toilet seats from a young age? I don't know, maybe it's certainly in my blood. But obviously I went off to uni in Bristol, did some business studies, went off to America for a year, went over to Penn State, had an amazing year there. Thought I might have been good enough to be a footballer, and then realised I don't think I would have made it. Came back, worked for a company called Aggregate Industries, who you'll know.
Yeah, of course I
did their graduate management program, did a year there. I was about to go and work in the Isle of Wight as a sales manager for a company called Bard & Vectis over there. I actually think I would have brought the average age down by about 30 years. I didn't have a blue rinse. And then, long story short, the operations director at Bence's decided to leave after many years. And my dad said, why don't you come and work for us, Paul? In fact, it was my mum, bless her. And I said, well, I'm not going to just walk in. It's got to be right for me. It's got to be right for the company. So saw a non-family director, and he pretty much sat down with him for 3-4 hours and he said, right, you come in. I did a bit of HR operations, recruitment, running the showrooms, a bit of everything really, and it was good. It was a lot of it. I learned from sort of just self-teaching really. I didn't have a production program or a shadow or anything, and it was just picking it up and learning as I went along. You learned from a lot of mistakes, and then really I just grew into the role. And when I turned 30, it was a big year. Turned MD, turned 30. I had my first child as well, and responsibilities really went from there. And over those 15 years, how old I am now. We've gone to 8 branches. We were one. And I wanted to better myself, so I joined some leadership courses. There's actually been a business book written about me and 2 others. It's a co-constructed autobiography calling Leading Small Business. So if you've got problems with insomnia, I'd encourage you to read that book.
I want a copy. I want a signed copy.
That might be worth a $5 on eBay, that, mate.
Mate, I'll track it down. I'll track it down. I'll tell you what, I'll trade you for a copy of the podcast diaries, the lockdown diaries. We trade them off.
As long as you sign that as well.
I'm looking over there, so I've got a few on the side, funny enough, just have them lying around in case anyone needs them. So let's go back to that year, right? So you've not just told me, you've told everyone how old you are. I had a rough idea anyway, but you've turned 30. You've had your first baby, your first child's arrived, and you're stepping into the MD's position, family-led business. That was a big year for you, then, wasn't it?
Yeah, scary. Because
any one of those moments are quite life-changing, but to bring them all together, because I remember turning 30, I remember turning 40. I'll let you into a secret, Paul. Next February, 8th of February, I'm turning 50.
Wow.
So there you go. So yeah. I mean, you realise you are, because I'm at my 3rd or 4th 50th birthday party from all my pals I grew up with. That's where I was in. We'll come on to the football, but that's where I was in Chiswick, going to one of the Soho houses on Chiswick High Road, and it was good. The old hour come back a bit, when it did give you more time. But I had a very sore head having breakfast with my wife and mother. We went to see her mum in Fulham, and I weren't in a good way on a very lovely brunchy restauranty bar, the Brown Cow on Fulham Road. I was not on a good way on Saturday morning, I tell you. But that must have. But going back to you turning 30, you're taking on the MD role in a business which has got history, it's got structure. I imagine you've got to win the hearts and minds piece as well as everything else, haven't you? Because there's expectation on you.
Yeah.
And there's a it's almost like you're the custodian in a way, of that business now. But so how'd you deal with that? Because there's also like his family, and he's the governor's son. How'd you deal with that type of pressure, Paul?
Well, people in family business know this is not the way, but people think it's easy. Silver spooners, and I've got mates who just take the mick as well. But so you just walked into that. Your life was made. It's easy. And I disagree with that to quite a big degree, because when your name's above the door, you've got to earn respect 3 or 4 times over. One of my brothers came into the business and was probably a little bit more of a terrorist within the organisation and didn't earn respect. And we're friends again now, but it was a tough few years, and he didn't get it. And you've got to get it. And for me, a famous poet once said that you can meet triumph and disaster. You treat those 2 imposters the same. And that, for me, it means that true success comes to those who can build on their experiences and adapt to new challenges. And for me, I had to do a lot of growing up that year. And I love getting my business cards saying managing director. I just wanted to throw them around. But that meant nothing. It means nothing. It's a bit of paper with your name on and a posh title. You've got to earn that. And it took me a good few years to earn that. And obviously, I've sort of worked my way through our buying group to the chairman, Lightside chairman at Fortis and at NMBS, which is our a big organisation with our industry. I'm on the non-exec board there as well. And I believe as a business, we've really pushed boundaries to we're very different to a lot of merchants, that we've looked at product diversification rather than just putting dots on maps and models, and I can come on to that. And I unashamedly shout from the houses, sorry for the pun, but our status as a 6th generation family run business to differentiate us from our competitors. anyone could just do a cheap price on cement, as you know. You're in the industry there, and you probably get a bit of business. But I believe that and I say we because it's my people, we care about our people who work for us first and foremost, and about our customers more than others do. And that's a bold statement. I'm clearly biased, but I think we do. And that's why people stay with us, and that's why people buy from us. As you know, people buy from people. We want to work close with our customers and our staff, my people, my work family, not just tomorrow, but in 5-10 years' time. Because that's what I'm not just in this for a short term. I'm going, well, look, I'm going to be here for a long time. My name's above the door, and I want to create a legacy. Hopefully,
that legacy piece and that belonging, and your people, as you talk about it, that's always come through from any of the conversations we've had. That comes through. I just want to take you back there. You mentioned Mr. Kipling, and you mentioned If. All right, so I can show you here. I've got it on that table there. It's there. It's on that table. But also, it was my granddad's, God bless his soul. It was my old granddad's favourite poem.
Okay.
He did a lot of reading when he was in Her Majesty's he was in prison for a little while. Most people know this. Most people know the story. Where he was a bit of what you would call an old rogue of the London era back in the day. But he loved If, and he got me. And I'd read a lot. I read fiction, I read non-fiction, but he got me into that as a kid. And I've got the last verse of If tattooed down there.
Wow, okay.
Tattooed down my side. It doesn't look as good turning 50 as it did when I had it done sort of turning 30. I don't know.
Get a bit of tab on it. It looks a bit better then, right?
Yeah, so I just have to breathe in so people can see what it says. I'm like, it says that. It says, in which is more you'll be a man, my son. But powerful words, right? And words captivate everything. What I've always loved about your good self, when you talk about the business and the people, you do it with a smile on your face. You do it with passion, and you bring that passion and a little bit of you said it to me once. You said, Peter, I like your swagger. I like the way you talk up, and you're proud to be in this industry. That comes through from everything you do. So that must not just stay with your staff. That must hit your suppliers. It has to hit your customers.
Yeah, it does. And you know what? If you're not honest in life, well, what's the point? And you got to tell people how you feel, whether it's good or bad. And as long as you do that in the right, slight bit of cheekiness and not take the mick and you're reasonable with people, then that integrity shines through and it just gets you an extra point or two. Because, running the family business, it is difficult, and that burden and stress follows you around. It follows you to the Sunday roast table with your family.
Oh, it's always there.
And you have a nice meal and a beer on a Sunday, and then your brothers or my dad comes in and they go, well, what about so-and-so owes us money? I'm like, oh, okay. Or why have you let so-and-so do this? So it follows you around. So there is a burden there, but I wouldn't want it any other way. I'm really not moaning because I wouldn't want any other job because, the construction industry is so diverse. And I know we'll come on to about next gens and stuff, but, I hope that my two children who are still, one's just gone to senior school and the other is just about to go to senior school, I hope they want to come into the industry. I'll give them a great grounding. They know about it because, like my dad did.
They were stars of the video you put together as well, weren't they? Yeah. That was brilliant.
Oh, wow. The story on that one, it was, so we did it on a Saturday morning and obviously got them to put their school uniforms on. So it was about an hour and a half they did. And then the camera photographer guy left and my daughter said, okay, Dad, what am I getting for that?
Go on.
And I went, well, first of all, darling, you should have probably asked me that before because you've done it now. So you're not in a very strong position. She was really, because she'd have kept bugging me for ages. Anyway, she said, well, I want you to take me to the horse shop, and it cost me an absolute fortune. So I could have got a child actor in for cheaper. My lad, bless him. I said, right, well, he said, well, Daddy, if you've done that for my sister, what are you going to do for me? I said, well, what do you want? He just wanted a football. So he was cheap. So and look, that video just encapsulates what we're all about, and I've probably watched it 50 times now. It still gives me goosebumps watching it because that history, that legacy is what binds me and my family. And in these difficult times, as I said earlier, the recessions, the pandemics, the world wars that we've been through. My business has been through that, so I can't moan saying I've got it worse than other generations, because we are going through a difficult time, and it's going to be even more difficult after Wednesday.
Yeah, I mean, the noise and the politics now. I try and stay as neutral as I can, and I think I look at everything from being a small, medium-sized business owner. How does it affect me? And some of the things you mentioned about there, that on a Sunday evening it's still with you. Do you know, it is always there. You wake up and there's something you remember. There'll be something else you think about. And with that, I think the opportunity for pressure and mental health it could be really tough. It can really get to you. So I've had some great highs on my journey. I'm 20. I think it's my 21st year. But I'm telling you what, I'm during a couple of those difficult passages of play, to bring a football talk into it, I had some tough times, Paul. Some tough times, and that's when you kind of learn about yourself, how you're navigating your way through them to come out the other side. So I think if you can go into it with a smile on your face is great, but also I'm very aware now where people, and this is happening in our industry, people are being made redundant. Businesses are going into administration. People are getting in touch with me and my team, and they're saying, look, I need a job because I want to work, but I need a job to feed my family. I need a job for my mortgage. I need a job, I need to do it. And you see the challenges people face that is out there. So we've all got, I guess, a duty of care to support the industry and support the people within it. But we've also got to make sure we celebrate and we showcase the successes and those areas where it is going well, and we're going to battle through and we're going to keep going. And a lot of people are saying if you're a little bit ahead of last year, you're doing okay. If you're a little bit behind where you were last year, you're still doing really okay. Keeping going is the key message. And I hear different stories with different people. Let's talk about builders merchanting, the group right now. How are you shaping up towards the end of the year? What's going on right now, Paul, with you in the business?
We've only got about 7 working weeks left, haven't we, till Christmas? And that's I mean, for me,
Santa's coming in a few sleeps, mate. Yeah. He's on his way.
In fact, in the principals meeting of Fortis the other week, when I did a presentation, I think my headline slide was 76 sleeps until Christmas, as for something for us all to look forward to and get 2024 out the way. Because there was a bit of a slogan now at the start of the year saying survive until 25. But really, I want to do more in 24. Well, doing more in 24 hasn't meant my turnover, but we've got a really eclectic business, as I said, Pierre, and I think that we've got the traditional builders merchant side, which is tough. It's really tough on heavy side and timber in particular. The light side's going okay. Our Obsidian showrooms, whether it's a good or bad time to pick do a total refurb and spending $500,000 on a new kitchen and bathroom flagship showroom. Our roofing and plumbing brands are going okay. Our doors and windows, which we started last year, which is a real cottage industry, I feel, and we sort of jumped in to the fire a little bit because we saw an opportunity locally. Took some people on. I've got a team of 4 on it, and it has been a massive success. And that's a supply and fit. So the fitting side, as merchants, we're almost like the corner shop. You go there because it's convenient. You can pretty much get everything you want. But something like the doors and windows is really pushed our turnover well on that side. And we've got an online business for bathrooms. That's going okay. We're doing really well on the marketplaces. That's really going well. We've also I've got a wet room solution business, which is going okay. So once again, on the light side, I've just started doing a bit of developing myself as well, actually. So, that it's really made me understand about some of the issues and challenges that our clients face in planning. How expensive that process is, and taking that flyer on a piece of land or on a renovation and suddenly realising that it's covered in poisoned ivy, whatever, and you've got to spend 10,000 on that, or there's a tax which is just cropped up, which you've got to pay $5,000 on, or a solicitor's fee of $2,000 on it, and the waiting, and so I'm trying. My understanding of the industry is getting more and more. If we can get out of this year, you mentioned about numbers. If we can get out of this year and anything better than break even with all my staff, I'll be happy, because speaking to a lot of industry friends, they're saying we've just not replaced jobs. The dreaded R words starting to be mentioned more. And I think that merchants generally do all right. General merchants do well during the summer. And then from sort of, should we say, late November, December, January, February, we're sort of all into hibernation, unless it's just plumbing and heating. And then obviously, that's a good season for them. But the mixed merchants generally struggle to make lots of money through
Well, one of the things I love about video calls is the way it can just disappear. But Paul, you're the first podcast guest to have a thermal closing down of their laptop and actually get it. I mean, you've only been gone about 2 minutes, mate. I mean, that was a pretty good off and on, and you've got yourself back in the room. So yeah. So you were talking brilliantly about what the year's going to end like, what it looks like, and not just surviving until 25, but thriving into there and looking for something to come really good for the group and business, wasn't you?
Yeah, and to sort of then look, as I said, if we can come out in making a little bit. I mean, we've made lots of investments into new vehicles. They're not cheap. We've got a brand new EPS system, £300,000 we spent on that in our showroom, which is over $500,000. So we invest our monies back in, and we continue to do that. And as I said about people, people are everything. And the one thing we looked at it and gone, right, out of our 140, 150 staff, is there any of them we can do that we don't need? And we went down the list, and not quite Schlinder's list, but it was like, no, we need them all. We got some really, really good people here, and it's not a case of last in, first out. And so we've looked at how can we reduce overheads, and we've done a little bit on that, utilities and things. As I briefly touched upon earlier, I think the budget on Wednesday is really going to hurt us, and we want to get into a conversation on politics. But for me, putting 2% on NI, which is what I think they're going to do, is really, really very naughty, because it's hitting good people like you and I who work very hard in independent small businesses. And when 65% of my total overhead cost is in salaries, how is that fair? You're putting 2% on. The corporation tax of an extra 6% came on last year, so that's taken out of my profits at the other end. And also, when you look at the national living wage, I totally get the national living wage, by the way, but it's really, really impacted us by going up almost 20% over the last year. Some of those people that we employ on the shop floor and stuff, they were happy on their salaries. They're even obviously more happy now as they get more money. But things like that is taking it away from our ownership, and I don't think that's fair. But that's my political rant over, Peter. But for me, they really shouldn't be punishing companies like us, because we're the ones who stimulate the economy. When are they
it's a really tough thing. It's a tough thing to read, Paul, isn't it? Because you think you're like, hold on, I'm getting hit here, I'm getting hit here, I'm getting hit there. What's in this gig for me, right? And that's where I look at it now. And I'm talking to friends of mine that got their own business, and they're like, do you know what, Jonesy, I'm going to do the off. So what do you mean you're going to do the off? So I'm going to do the off. Now, some of them are, their children are grown up. They don't have children. They're like, yeah, I'm going to think about investing here. I'm going to go there. And I think we've got to be very careful what we wish for. And there's fundamental. He's going to we know it's coming, and it's going to come, and it's going to take some unrest. But I think when you do, and I'll go political on this, you cannot be someone who says X, I will do X, and then not do it. Or completely, there's things there where you're thinking this could play out very, very dangerously for the country. Politically, things are on the edge. Do you know what I mean? You see the protests, you see the riots, you see what's going down. You're in a tinderbox somewhere, and without going too far right or left or wherever you want to go, we've got to make some big decisions that support the people. And I, when I'm talking to, my mother-in-law don't want to put her heater on. I'm going, what are you doing? Just put it on. Like, just put the heating on, love. Like, we'll pay it. No, I don't want to bother you. I'm like, you're sitting in the cold. You got 3 jumpers on, Martha. Put, come on. And that's real. And I won't be the only person who's having a conversation like that with an elderly relative. I won't be the only person who's, my wife, this anyway, but my wife Jane, she volunteers at the local community supermarket, like the food bank, right? And when you see the people there that are actually working, both mums and dads are working, but it's just a tough month. And they just need to, they need to get a few bags of shopping. And you see the pressure that real people are under there. we've got to support them. And it's like what you're saying there. You've got people that, we recognise the living wage is important, but if too much control comes away from you and it hits you, where'd you go? And I guess that brings that side to it, because we know something big's coming, and we're just going to see how it plays out. But I have an opinion. It's probably quite similar to yours, where it's going to go, Paul.
I mean, it's on a side, actually. It's one of the biggest arguments in my household, actually, about the heating being turned on. I'll be walking around in a pair of shorts and a T-shirt, and the wife's putting the heating on. And I'm going, what are you doing? But anyway, that's an aside. But, I look at, I suppose, the good things which might come out of the new government is they are trying to focus on housing, and they are trying to focus on the planning reforms, which I think can only be a positive. But then they need to dig deeper, because they need to look at, well, is the labour available? Are the materials available? Where are we going to build 300,000 houses? No one's done that since the 1960s. I think the Tories got to about 260, 270 in their prime for 1 year. How are they going to do 1.5 million houses in 5 years? And they don't. There's no plan behind that. It's easy to say that from the outset, but hey, look, we'll see. We will see. Yeah. Well, look, it's not going to be a great 6 months, so I don't think.
We'll see how that plays out. So when we come back after the break in the second half of the podcast, Paul, I want you to take me to your football career. Yeah. I want you to tell me I could have made it. I mean, you can't get away with I could have made it comment. I could have been a player. We're going to have to explore that. We've got to, as they say, was this right? Once you've been touched by Everton, you never be the same again, or once you've been kissed by Everton, something like that. Something like that. The Everton fans say. So we've got to talk about your love of Everton. Of course, we played each other at the weekend. I've still got the ump, but I shouldn't really, because again, that's reflective. That's reflective of it. Be careful what you wish for. I'd be happy fourth bottom. We're now 10th, and there's a lot of points between us and the lower parts there. But it's happened a couple of times. So we'll come on to why Fulham can't see a result out, and we'll talk about Everton. And I think you're going to also give us your side of the. Just talk about Cheltenham Town and recent events there as well, because that's very, very important. But to finish the first half of the show, I just want to tell you something you won't know. All right, I used to hate your business. Genuinely did, right? When I was a young Travis sales manager, I used to hang out. I told you this. I used to hang out in the Cotswolds down Love Lane, Cirencester. And we had a little Travis branch there, a little Travis branch in Mead Road, and I'd be going to see all these customers with like the local reps, and they're like, "Yeah, but we deal with Bence, we deal there, we deal, we might come in, but we deal there. Why? They always look after us." And it was like I had you like there, and Bradford's down there, and I'm like, "Oh God, we've got to somehow get a foothold into here. We've got to start getting more of a share of the product." So it was, we done it by the Sharp and Fisher acquisition. I think that was how we did it. And then it was like the second biggest. I used to work at the Vauxhall branch, but that was the second biggest branch I've ever seen. So that was like kind of my take on the business, was like, why does everyone deal with them and not us? When I had that time in Travis. But I'm
glad you're upset with us now. You told me.
It was 99. I moved from West London to the West Country in 99. I was there for 2000, 2001, and came back to Fulham in 2002. So happy memories of that place. Really have happy memories, and long may it continue. So listeners, we'll see you after the break when we start talking football with Paul Bence, and we're going to inspire you and the next generation with all things about the builders merchant industry. Thank you, sir. We'll see you after the break.
Cheers.
When it comes to bricks, there's only one company to speak with. ET Clay have something for every brick project. With over 400 products across our 2 depots, we are the builder's merchant, brick merchant.
Paul, I know you got your Everton Cup. I've got my Fulham scarf. We're going to talk football now, all right? And we're going to talk about your football career. Interestingly, so you were in the States and you were seriously playing at decent level, were you? College level, uni. Well, tell me about it, mate. What position was you, first of all?
Well, what position do you reckon I would play?
I've got a feeling you would be a ball playing centre half.
No way, centre forward, Nancy boy number. Yeah, very.
Yeah, okay. So Shearer-esque, would you say? Alexander Mitrovic, what sort of player was you?
I don't know why, but my celebration was very much like Alan Shearer, which wasn't very extravagant. Like that one, yeah. But I was very quick. I couldn't head the ball, but I was very quick. So I got fouled a lot, and I went down quite easily as well. Better not say that, as if there's any kids listening. That's not big and cool. But when I went over to the States, and I was over there for a year, and I was playing for Penn State, and we had a very international-looking team. So I had a Colombian, a Brazilian, a German in my team. There wasn't many Americans, actually. And I was doing really well. I was the top scorer in our league. And then I went over I spent 6 months at Penn State, and then I went to DC for 6 months to work for Agri Industry. So I got a little job placement over. And I started playing for a mixed team, would you believe? So my forward was a little Italian girl. I mean, I never used to pass to anybody, but I'd pass to her. And she scored lots of goals, but I still scored more than her. And randomly, and I thought it was one of my mates taking a mick, but this German bloke phoned me up called Lothar Matthäus, would you believe? And said,
no way, Lothar.
Yeah, exactly. And he said, it was very English people in America then. There wasn't that many of them. It was obviously almost a Beckham era over there. And he said, "What could you come for a trial? DC United B team are looking for some English, and we want some young coaches to come over. So would you come for a trial?" And it was right near the time I was going back to uni in Bristol. So to be honest, I was a bit taken aback and probably a bit too nervous to go and try out and get told I wasn't good enough. So I didn't, came back, played with my mates on Saturdays at a decent sort of level FA Vars type stuff.
Yeah.
In Cheltenham, and got paid a little bit, not much, 20 quid here and there. And then I've had 8 knee injuries, so 8 knee operations. So so the closest I've got was obviously almost like a real life championship manager of being the commercial director and vice chairman at Cheltenham Town, which I know you want to come on to. So
yeah, I mean, look, let's just go back to what could have been, mate. That conversation with Lothar. It could have took you. It could have been the start of the American phenomenon for you, Paul Bence. But I'm glad you're back here. I'm glad you're on the podcast. And yeah, look, let's talk about your tenure at Cheltenham Town. Let's get a bit of substance around that, mate. So people would have seen it. You've done your interview. So let's hear it from your good self, Paul.
Yeah. I suppose a bit of background. We were main sponsor at Cheltenham Town. Obviously born in Cheltenham. I remember going to see him when I was in short shorts, and we were in the Southern League, and we worked our way up into the Football League pyramid of being a professional team. And I never forget the goal that got us up into League 2 or the old Div 4 in those days, I think. And it was a magical moment. And I was on the terraces, and I loved it. It was almost back at the time you actually swapped ends at half time. I'm really scared of the Newport County fans, actually, because they're sort of walk past them, and scary South Welsh people with bottles, drinking straight out of bottles of wine. As a young kid, was quite intimidating, especially when we normally had beaten them as well. But they asked me to join the board. I said, I've got a young family. I can't go to away games because that's sort of one of the things you have to go home and away. Didn't really fancy Carlisle away on a Tuesday night, or Morecambe or Accrington or those. And did 7.5 years. I could have been the shortest ever Football League director, because when I joined, either I was very confident, ambitious, or just a bit stupid, because it was in April and we had 1 game left of the season. If we'd lost to Hartlepool at home, we could have been relegated. And thankfully we won that game. I think the groundsman made it look like a beach in the end, so only we could play on it. And we stayed up. And then for 7 years, we've done amazing. We've had a couple of promotions. We've been in League 1 for 3 years, the 3 highest positions we'd ever finished in 135 years. We have Michael Duff, great manager, and obviously he's gone on to manage championship clubs as well. A great player as well at Burnley, it's been a great experience. But all good things need to come to an end. And when I think one of the betting companies say, when the fun stops, you got to stop, right? And that's really where I am. And I wanted to leave my legacy, but also in a place where I could pick it back up in 5-10 years' time. And I think one thing that Cheltenham Town have, which most other clubs have, is money, investment. And fans have to be careful what they wish for. And I know we'll probably talk about that from our Premier League clubs, Fulham and Everton. And Cheltenham Town is run by proper people who are proper fans who care if they lose on a Saturday afternoon or a Tuesday night. And they probably have an argument with the family in the evening or in a bit of a strop because they didn't win or they lost or to a last minute winner or whatever. But that's what it's all about, right? Football's a passionate game. And it's very difficult when you get people throwing stones at you when they don't understand what's in the house, and that I've got thick skin. You've got to have that in construction, dealing with builders and plumbers every single day for many years. But it does. I mean, I was okay. Don't get me wrong, but I'd started looking too much on the social media. When they're coming after you personally, it's not very nice when they don't know you. If they knew me and then said some of the words they said, I'd say, fair enough, you formed an opinion on me. But they don't. I've never seen them in the street. I've never spoken to them. And I'm so happy with what we've done at the football club. And I think most people are as well. But, when we played Man City a couple of years ago and they won a 22-game unbeaten run, I got to meet Pep Guardiola, which is one of the best things I've ever done. Actually,
did he mention your career at Penn State at all? Because he is a knowledge of football, isn't he, Pep? So he might have had a tracker on you back then, mate.
He didn't, but he gave me about 25 seconds. It was on LinkedIn, had about 40,000 views, and I put it on there. And basically, he's completely done me. On the end of the 30 seconds, I just could have talked to him for 30 hours. Yeah. 30 seconds. And as he's walking away, I said, will you give my son an opportunity in the Man City Academy? And his words were ciao, ciao. And I'm like, I've just been done by Pep Guardiola. He just walked off. But we were 1-0 up with 10 minutes left and it was unbelievable. And then they scored, they scored 3. I think Foden got one and Gundogan got one and Jesus. And I got to meet all the players at the end. It was during COVID, which is unfortunate for fans, but I had an audience with Man City.
That was a tough time for football, wasn't it? It weren't the same. It weren't the same without the fans.
No, totally not. And the sound effects on the TV and stuff, it didn't really mix it, did it? So
no. And do you know what you saw as well? You saw the players being a lot more flash. They would try things that they would not do with a crowd on their back. Do you know what I mean? So a lot. And you had that training ground type. So, from a Fulham perspective, we beat our biggest rivals in the biggest game in football, the playoff final. We done Brentford and we scored one from the halfway line. You think we all watched it on the telly.
Yeah,
it was a tough time, mate. But you must look back at Cheltenham Town and think I'm pleased with what we've done. The keyboard warriors, if they're going to hate, they're going to hate. But it's quite powerful to listen when you're saying, look, they don't know me, they're having a pop at me, they don't know the bigger picture. But it's very interesting to hear you say it. But you seem quite calm with it now. You've made peace with it, I guess.
Look, I don't want to sound like I'm a victim. I'm far from that. I've had the most magical time, and I know that I've helped the club buy the training ground with our game against Man City. We raised $500,000 and we put it straight into our training ground, and we bought that. I said to one of the local press, I said to him, look, you don't go and work in a bakery and complain about the smell of bread, right? So I'm not going to be involved in football and say that, of course not everyone's going to love you, And I've said I'd stay on part of the board to talk about investment because we've agreed that we need investment, and the shareholders, they're great people. They've said, look, we can't. They haven't put much money in. We're happy to sell our shares or get some really good money in, and then get us up. And if I tell you what, interesting, I'll ask a question for myself, Peter. But a lot of people say, how much did it cost? If you want to get to the Championship, I'm not going to say Premier League because that's different level. We're in League 2 right now, and if you said how much money would you have to give me to get into the Championship, right? How much do you think? How much would you say?
10 million.
No way. It'd be more like 50 million, and then that's not because in League 1 when we were in there last year, you've got teams like Sunderland, Derby,
Jesus, yeah.
They've got £10 million wage rolls. We were just under 2 million. So how does a team over 90 minutes beat a team who have got 5 times more money on their players? Well, I'll tell you what it is. It's marginal gains and passion. And you know what? The players really wanting to fight for their money and their places to get to, and that's what Cheltenham's all about. We are a shop window to say, come and play well for us, or come and manage us well, like Darryl Clark and Michael Duff did, and you will go to bigger and better things. And we know who we are. We know we're that club, but we're happy being that. Alfie May sold to Birmingham a month or two ago for £1 million. We bought him for £5,000 in Doncaster. He's a little winger. Joined from non-league, not quite a Jamie Vardy story, but we made him into a centre forward and he scored us 50 goals in 2.5 seasons. And you know what? We did the honourable thing. He had another 2 years left on his contract. He came to us and said, look, I can earn 3 times the amount of money at Charlton Athletic. Please let me go. We said, well, keep us up. This is in January, keep us up, and we'll let you go. And we did. We didn't have to, but we just did the honourable thing, and a lot of that honour is gone in football these days with the foreign investment in there. And look, my other team, Everton, are going through a takeover at the moment. I'm a bit scared to think, look, we've already blown $500 million and done nothing with it. So money doesn't always, in life in general, as you'll know, money does not buy you success.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. But you talk about that football journey. You mentioned some of those places. I've seen Fulham win at Carlisle. I've seen. It's mad when you look at it there. But I think I look at Cheltenham. Go on, mate. Say that again.
Yeah, we did Carlisle 1-0 on Saturday, amazingly. So
did you? There you go, mate. There you go. I mean, we've got a lot of fans of the show from Carlisle, so shout out to Carlisle. And they won't know this song, but the famous song goes, "Who put the ball in the Carlisle net? Rodney. Who put the ball in the Carlisle net? Rodney McAree." And he was a young trialist from Northern Ireland, but they were first, we were third, or we were second, and we needed 4 points to go up. They needed 1 point to go up. They went one up. Super Mickey Conroy equalised. He was a big number 9. He was not a fast number 9, but he got goals back in the day. And young Rodney McAree whacked it in the top bins. And it's just one of those. But it's that moment, that actually was the first time in my life that I've ever seen Fulham do anything. Because then we went, we were able to get a point then. We went to Mansfield Town away on the Tuesday, and we drew 0-0. And we celebrated being promoted back into the old third division, the old third as it was. So that's football's there. But we talk about your love for Cheltenham, but let's talk about Everton, and let's talk about the new ground, the new owners, everything that's going on. I just found out coming in, the Sky News popped up when I was getting ready for this, that the Man U's gaffer's gone. He's gone. Yeah. So football's brutal. What do you expect from the Toffees and from Everton this season? Is it consolidation? Can they punch above? What you're seeing the team? What do you think they're capable of?
Well, you mentioned earlier about where you'd be happy with fourth from bottom. I would be as well, because Sean Dyche is a good manager. I suppose there's a question on people like Alex Iwobi. We didn't want to sell him. I'm not sure whether I would have not celebrated if I'd have scored, by the way, on Saturday. I know he's being respectful, but I think he celebrate the goals. But for me, look, I've got my Everton mug here, but it has been in the back of a cupboard, out of sight. And I've turned the goal updates off my phone and everything. I'm like, God, football's killing my weekends.
It does, mate. It does, doesn't it? Like when Fulham, I don't put much down. I don't want the Sunday papers. I don't want to know. I don't care. I have no interest in it. And then you nick a few results, and you're like, yeah. I think though, you talk about Iwobi's goal, and we've got like the little mini Arsenal quartet now that are playing for Fulham. Iwobi seems to have just found the right football club. Charlie, our producer, is a big gooner, and he'll kind of, we talk about Iwobi seems to be in the right club. He's a well-coached player. He's got a good engine. Not everything he tries comes off, but he normally makes the right decisions, and that's his coaching. He's rated. He's rated at Fulham, really respected.
So he was good for us. He always made the occasional mistake, but he's good for us. And Fulham worked us out on Saturday. Pressures high. We have not got the skillful players to work out, getting it out from the back four to the midfield and the striker. And I think that you mentioned it earlier as well. You fell in for us, for Everton. We haven't got skill. So we got Dominic Calvert-Lewin who can be up front, and he's he's a big old lump and he can hold on to the ball. And we've got Harrison and McNeil who can run down the wings. Other than that, we've not got creative midfielders. We've got midfielders who can win the ball back. And we have got a decent centre-backs. Our full-backs are a bit ropey. You know, Ashley Young's 58 now, I think, but he's still doing all right. And we've got a decent keeper most of the time. So for me, Everton, are we in a transitional time? Yes, we need to stay up this year. If we can get some more investment, then we've got the new stadium next year. And my biggest dread is that we'll be playing Championship teams in our new stadium. That would be a disaster. We Everton fans, they call it the People's Club. Is everything. The passion that Evertonians have. And okay, I live down in Cheltenham, a couple of hours away, but I love taking my lad up there a couple of times a season because you just can't get that atmosphere. And I'm gutted to see Goodison Park go. One of those last old stadiums.
Yeah, I find it. When we lose modern stadia, you lose. Sorry, so when you lose the old grounds and you see modern, we're kind of hanging on at the Cottage, Paul. So, but you know what you said about Everton, and it could be a very, very expensive stand in the Championship. We've got fine dining and infinity pool looking across the skylights of London, mate, on the top of our roof on the newsstand, and I think they're turning it into like a Soho House, or not Soho House. During the week it's going to be like a members club, and you're going like, oh my god, I still sit in the Johnny Haynes stand, so the old wooden stand, right? I still sit there, and I'm in my seats, and it's cramped, and I love it there. But I do worry because you're a run of games away from being in trouble when you support a club like Fulham. And I wouldn't want to go back in the Championship with all that cost, and that's kind of the pressure we're under. But anything fourth bottom will be very good. We've had moments this season where I look at our run, the games, and I'm thinking like, we really should have got something at home against West Ham, but they scored in the 98th minute. We probably should have held on at the weekend. Arguably, you could say that, but it was 96th, 97th minute. Fair enough, whenever it went in. Man U, first game of the season, 87th minute. They beat us. And then at Man City, we just couldn't score. And the tactics were great, apart from we didn't score. So Fulham are now 10th. We play Brentford. It'll be after we go to air, so we know the results when this podcast is out. But we play Brentford at home. They're 9th or 10th. We're kind of in that middle area where I think we'd be okay. I think we'd be okay this season. I think we've got, like you was running through, you said you've got two very good centre halves. We've got Bassey and Anderson are a very good partnership. Anderson didn't play at the weekend, so he was suspended. So Diop came in, did all right, but he's a stopper, isn't he? He kicked things and heads things. He's not as composed, but we do okay. My fear with Fulham, I say this to anyone, we are 2 or 3 injuries away from being. It'll be very interesting to see how we shape up. So we'll see how it plays out, mate. But I think in Sean Dyche you've shown faith. He seems to be doing. He's still churning it out, isn't he? In working resources he's got.
It's never going to be sexy football with Sean Dyche. But you say about you not getting leads and stuff. I tell you what, I wasn't at the Bournemouth game when we conceded 3 goals in the last 5 minutes, but I was at the Villa game when we were 2-0 up and we managed to lose 2 games in a row. And that journey back from Villa Park with my lad loved the game. He had a great time. It was a great winner from John Duran. He popped it in the top corner and the atmosphere was amazing. And that gave me a bit more encouragement, thinking my lad is okay with this. But I do feel a bit sorry for making him be an Everton fan at this time. Because, I suppose looking at the positives, he's going to get used to losing, being a good loser, even though I'm still not. But we've got Southampton on the weekend, and you think, we're beating teams like that or not letting them beat us. But hey, look, answer your question, fourth and bottom, I'd take that. I don't want to take it to the last few games, but we just need to get the new people into the club. We need to get into our new stadium and go from there. I mean, and look, I'll be happy if both my clubs finish, lower end of the tables this season. For sure.
Paul, let's hope they do, mate. So that's the football part of the podcast where we went through your career in Penn State to Cheltenham Town and all through it, that love of Everton. And it's great. We've got some Fulham banter in there as well, which I always enjoy as part of the podcast, Paul. But
remind me before we finish to put the video of my little song on at the end.
Yeah, we'll do that. I'm going to let you close the show with your song at the end. We're going to end the podcast with that moment, Paul. So don't worry. So Talking about wrapping things up. All season now, all series, I've asked people just to take some time to reflect on their younger selves and the builders merchant journey and the opportunities we have within this wonderful sector. What would you say to people about the opportunities within the builders merchant sector, Paul? Why should that be a career choice for people?
I mentioned it. Look, being in the builders merchants as a young person, obviously I was sort of born into it, but I think it's really important that when people go into our industry, they very, very, very rarely leave it, and that's the sign, right? So we really having a focus via BMF and NMBS on getting apprenticeships in, which I think is so important. We need to get young people, male, female, into our industry because it's such an eclectic. You can go places, you can get up ladders much easier than you can in any other industry, and you're going to have a really good time during it as well. Conferences abroad, or trips to even factory fit trips, they're great. There's always a night out after it, and where I've probably learnt more is not from a factory visit or a conference, but speaking to people, because people are so open in our industry, and they want to give you time, and you don't get that in many other industries. So for me, sitting back as in my 20s and just sort of looking at in awe of people who have done really well in merchanting and learning from them, and really using them as a sponge to go, look, tell me about this. How have you done that? Did that work? Did this work? And asking 1,000,001 questions. And hey, look, they're not always going to have the right answer, and you're not always going to get it right all of the time. But for me, I wanted to learn so much of our industry, which I believe I have. For me, there was a little bit of a recognition thing and the respect thing that I really need to work at. And they still got that. And now I'm sort of sitting back and going, well, actually, it's not about putting more branches on the map or increasing my turnover. I'm going, well, actually, I'm lucky enough to have job security, which I think a lot of people have in our industry. And I think that if people come into our industry, they're going to love it. And there's no turning back. And I am seeing that a little bit more, that people are coming in from left field, not just from our industry. And that needs to keep coming. So for me, and people like yourselves as well, Peter, we need people like you saying, right, you're recruiters. Get the recruiters on side. Where are those key influencers? Get them in, get people into our industry, and they will stay because it's a great place to be.
I think what you said there, Paul, I'm just plugging my laptop in, mate. It might be going to the Great Thermal Graveyard, same one as you at the moment. So I'm just making sure I get it plugged in. But I think what you said there, and this is really important, right? The industry offers so many different career pathways, and this is something I genuinely am so passionate about. One of the challenges I believe lots of the employers in the industry have, and it'd be really good to get your take on it, Paul, one of the challenges I see is there is often a reluctance to consider someone who perhaps doesn't have the product knowledge, isn't working for a competitor, comes from a slightly different background, that it's starting to change, but we have to accelerate that change, because with the right training, the right onboarding, and the right support, we can learn. And we can, you said it, what we do isn't that difficult, but it needs to be consistently done. But I think there is still a resistance to not interview someone if they have not got the right product experience. They haven't sold to. I see this a lot with manufacturers, and I don't get it. If you are not selling a builder's merchant, you're not suitable for the job. Why? It's not that hard. It genuinely isn't that hard. And I think that there's some of the stereotypes and some of the challenges that, as an industry, we've got to embrace it. Because I agree with you, the apprenticeship piece and that pathway is getting better and better. It's being celebrated more, and there's some great initiatives and schemes out there. But I also think the opportunity to pick out some excellent players from that market, that sector, that environment, drop them into our world and see where that can go. That's what I want to see more of, Paul. So how do I do that? How do I get those candidates in front of more businesses?
Just a quick example on that one as well, Peter. I at the start of this year took a bit of a flyer on a lady from an estate agent to go out on my sales team. And the one thing I didn't really see coming, which I think is a real issue, is everyone else looking and going, well, she's not from our industry. What does she know? You know? And I really had to fight hard against that stereotype to say,
that's exactly the one I'm talking about.
Give her a chance, you know. And I'm thankfully say 9-10 months later, she's doing a great job. Amazing. And she's come with some different ideas. She hasn't got the product knowledge, but you don't need the product knowledge. You know, we sell 15,000 products. You know, I haven't got a clue about 14,980 of them, right? But you don't have to, right? You've got to have the confidence to knock on doors, ask what those people want. And then within our businesses, we have good people who know about the product and give the right pricing in the service. So for me, yeah, we're more of a traditional business where my eyes and ears are really important for me. The guys out on the road, guys and girls on the road. You know, if I don't have them, you know, I'll be losing business. And it's the first to go. A lot in the nationals as well, as you all know, it's the first to go is the external sales team. For them, they are very, very important to me. So yeah, how do we encourage more people to our industry? It's really hard to answer that, Pete, because I don't actually have the solution. You know, from a local point of view, you know, people know our business and they will come and ask for jobs, but I don't get many people coming into me from outside of industry. So yeah, don't have the answer. Sorry, mate.
That's all right. This is why we have the conversations. It's to bring this into the. I'm bringing it into every room I'm in at the moment because I'm fascinated by it, you know. And I'm asking. So, where did your career start, and how did you get the job, and what attracted you to this position? Why have you employed them? You know, what did they have that they didn't? So you said that girl was really good, but she didn't have the software. So that one's got the software, but you said isn't as good. But you're going to go with them. Why? You know, could that not be taught? Could we not learn? And it's really interesting when you dive into it because sometimes it's a lack of training, it's a lack of time. You know, I read this as I need someone, Jonesy. They've got to hit the ground running. I'm like, okay, all right. Tell me how they're going to do that. They've got to learn about you. They've got to learn about your business. They've got to learn about your customers. They've got to learn about your route to market. No one can hit the ground running without real training, real onboarding, and real mentoring and support. And that's where I think we've got that piece there to be done because I know that there are individuals out there. I meet them in the bars. I meet them in restaurants. I meet them on the train. I see people going about their work, and I'm thinking you could rip it up in our industry. You'd be really good, but we've got to get them in. And that's the opportunities that I'm working on, Paul. So go on. You wanted to do it. I want you to sing your song, Mr. Bence. I want you to sing your song.
Well, I certainly was going to sing that. I never promised that.
Okay. Come on.
No one would want to hear me sing. Not even my dog, which is sat next to me now, would want to hear me sing.
I'll put my photo scarf on for this moment.
Yeah. So this is an old favourite. I mean, it's probably a bit more your era than my era. That was a bit of an ageist comment there.
Oh, here we go. We don't discriminate for age in this podcast, Paul. So all age groups are welcome.
So how am I mixing this all together? Because so one thing is, look, the industry at the moment is tough, right? So the moral of this song is that you'll get it in a minute. There's a football element to it as well. So here we go. I'm going to play this now. I hope it's going to work. Let's see if it comes up. You can walk my path. You can wear my shoes and talk like me. Do you know where it's going yet?
I've got an idea.
Remember the 94th minute?
Yeah.
You ain't never gonna feel this way. You were feeling good after 92nd minute, I know that. But I know you. Singing in our praise can only get better.
There you go. There it goes. Better, yeah, go on.
There we go. There it is. There was a little bit of singing in there as well.
So a bit of things can only get better. I think we just played until Everton scored, to be honest. That was it. And what a lovely way, Paul. What a lovely way. Things can only get better. Yeah, that's the chant, is it?
That's the one.
Love it. Absolutely love it. I love it. And I've still got me Fulham scar. Do you know what made me laugh, right there? And I will share this. So I wasn't that gay. I was going out to 50th. I was in Chiswick, you know what I mean? I was with all the hipsters. So I was going down there with my wife, and I thought, I was in the car, and I thought, but I'm in the show, but I thought, I better text Paul. I know he's at the NBS, but I'm going to text him. So I sent you a little message, and then when I saw him come back, you're like, don't know what you're talking about. We bossed the game. I'm like, that's a proper football fan. That's a proper football fan. That is.
Yeah, well, I had my fishing rod out there, and there was no bite. It's one of those, and you could turn around and go, well, we could have scored. He's offside just about when he Calvert-Lewin, but I did jump up there.
It was tight. I mean, I didn't see that until much later when they were showing highlights on the thing. But the commentators on the wireless, they were saying it was Connor Cody was commentating. He was really good. He was really good commentating for BBC. He was really, really obviously very passionate. Very, very, very Everton first, but very balanced. He was really good. But they were saying it was tight, so it probably was tight.
But then, to be honest, that was about our only good chance. You had about 5, so I'd certainly looking at the game, I would have taken a point. And look, it saves me.
Smith Rowe should have scored, shouldn't he? In the first half, he should have scored. Smith Rowe.
Yeah, and look, if we would have won, I would have been sat here in my full Everton kit, which is not a nice sight.
Oh, not with them dodgy knees, Mr. Bence. So let's put a date. 170 years. The next 170 years, we'll come back, and whatever the podcast is, the later generations of Jones and Bence will try and do some form of discussion around how it's been. How about that?
Totally. And also, I've got a confession to make before we leave, because this penalty shootout, which you were a bit too confident actually for me, and I'm like, what? I'm pretty good at penalties, but I'm not quite. But I'm thinking he's a bit confident. So I'd done a deal with our first team keeper of which way he was going to dive when I took the penalty.
I thought you chucked me up, yeah.
Yeah, so you would have been tucked up on that. And hey, look, he could have stitched me up as well, to be fair. So,
I'll tell you what I would do. If I was going to miss one, I'd miss it hard. I wouldn't miss one like Andres Pereira did the other day when we should have gone 2 up against Villa. I wouldn't be doing all that. I'd be giving it a whack. When I used to coach, say to the kids, miss it hard. If you're going to miss it, miss it high, miss it in the post, hit it hard. Don't do all that. So there we go, mate. Paul, listen, this has been a long time coming. I want to do a show in person with you. I want to meet you at the football. I want to meet you for a beer. But more importantly, what our listeners are going to get from here is someone who's leading a 6th generation family business, 5th generation. Yeah, so leading a generational business, that small percentage, and actually you've journeyed what you've been through. We're going to have a great 2025. There's going to be challenges. They'll come out of the budget, but we'll get through them. And I'm going to get you back on this podcast to talk Fulham, Everton, and Builders Merchanting, because you've been a brilliant guest, Paul. Thank you so much for joining me. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry to say that is the end of this felt like an everlasting episode with Paul Bence. He's an absolutely fantastic personality. He's a pleasure to have on the podcast. We'll see you next week. Thanks to our sponsors, David Blitz and E.T. Clay. That is the end of this episode. Take care. Always a pleasure.